Heal Trauma, Part 2. It's the transition from grief, which is Part 1, and I will link in the description below, to the new world, your new world specifically, which will be Part 3. And when that video is released, I will also link it below. At this point that you're watching the video, hopefully you have went through the Heal Trauma Part 1, which is the 5 stages of grief, which is necessary to process and go through in order to get to Part 2, which is the transition phase of healing from trauma. Part 2 is about releasing and letting go of your emotions and your feelings. And one thing I would like you to know is that everything is happening in your timing. So as you processed your grief, you may slip backwards a little bit into one of those phases. And if you do, just go back, rewatch the video, or look at your notes if you took notes, and pick up where you left off in whichever stage that you may be in and or stuck in, and then move forward. But it is very important for you to process your grief and go through all 5 stages in order to transition into your new world. In this video, Part 2 is about the transition phase. So we've processed grief, and it's time to release and let go of the emotions and the feelings so that we don't get stuck and keep continually going through the grief. Click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give me a big thumbs up if you like the content, and share the video. Leave your comments below. I do reply to all the comments, and I love hearing where you're tuning in from. As we go through this transition phase of releasing and letting go, you need to know and understand that everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work out for you. You just have to be ready and willing for that to happen. And you do need to go through the release and the let go phase, which is part of the transition, so that you can fully move forward from your trauma or your loss. I'm going to give you 3 processes, 3 processes to release and let go of your emotions and your feelings as part of your transition in healing trauma. The first process is to verbalize. You can go to a quiet, safe place, maybe light a candle, play some relaxing music. I find classical music sometimes is quite lovely to hear, or even a meditation soundtrack or video you can play softly in the background, because you do not want any distractions. And you want to verbalize your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts. Verbalize it and get it out. If you prefer to speak to a close friend or a therapist, if you have one, you can do that as well. You can sit in nature, again, somewhere in a safe place that you can verbalize. You may get emotional while you are doing this release process. So again, you want to make sure that you are in a safe, comfortable place where you can let your guard down and just really verbalize all of your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts regarding the trauma that has occurred and or the loss that you're going through. The second process, in the second process, you can write a letter. You can write a letter to yourself. You can write a letter to the loved one that you lost or loved ones. You can write a letter to whomever may have taken part in the trauma that you're going through, depending on what it is that you're dealing with or what your specific situation is. And in this letter, you will write out all your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, everything from the anger and frustration to everything that you're feeling inside, and write it all out. It doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter how much you put down on paper. It's just about getting the information, the feelings, the emotions on the paper, because this will be part of your release. And as you're sitting writing, you can burn a candle, you can play soft music in the background, something that is comforting to you. You can burn an incense, whatever makes your space feel welcoming, comfortable, and safe is what you need to do for you. So write out all of your emotions in this letter. You can address it specifically to somebody, or you don't have to address it at all. You can start it as, this is the way I'm feeling about, and fill in the rest. Emotions, thoughts, fears, hopes, loss, any of your feelings that tie you to that emotion and to the trauma and the feelings that you have from the loss and or the trauma, you need to put it down on paper so that you can release and let it go. Once you write your letter, you want to make your last words before you sign your name to it. I now release these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and so it is. By doing this, it will allow you to finalize and release and let go of those emotions, feelings, and thoughts that you have related to your loss and or your trauma. And then you can burn the letter in a safe place that is a safe fire receptacle place, whether it's a fireproof dish, a fireplace, a fire pit outside, your kitchen sink. Just make sure that you are consciously aware of the fire and do it safely. The third process is to journal. You can journal out your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings. Make sure you get all of it out, how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are from the loss and or the trauma, if you choose to journal it that way, which is fine. Each person needs to select their own process that works for them, and sometimes you may need to fully sit with your emotions and your feelings, and you may find that you want to do more than one of the processes and or all of them, or one of them might work for you, and that may be fine, and you can move forward into the next step. But do make sure that you allow yourself the time to do that. Process your feelings and emotions, and also release and letting them go is part two. I don't want to say it's the most important part, but it is an important part that you do need to detach from those emotions so that you can move forward, which we will cover in part 3 of creating your new world. I'm wishing you all the best. I know that you guys can do this. You just need to allow yourself to release and let go. And part of the process of doing that is getting your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts out, whether you choose to do it in a letter form, whether you choose to journal it, or whether you choose to sit and verbalize it either by yourself or with somebody else that you trust. Once you get through that step, you will start to feel a little bit lighter, and do not allow guilt to torture yourself anymore, so to speak, because that is the process. You felt the pain and you were miserable as you were grieving, but as you get to this transition phase, it's time to start feeling better. It is time for you to move forward into a better place, into a better space, into a better life. After whichever process you have chose or method to release and let go of your feelings and emotions tied to the loss and or the trauma, you want to say in method number 1 when you're verbalizing, in method number 2 you're writing a letter, so you would write this at the end of your letter, or number 3 is journaling, and you would write this as your last entry at the end of your journaling. I now release these thoughts, emotions, and feelings, and so it is. Your second step in your transition is to find your why. And your why is going to be that reason deep down inside that allows you to move forward. And if you take a slip or a step backwards, that's okay. You just need to remember your why, and that will help propel you forward so that you can continue to move forward. And as you continue to move forward, it will be getting you to the better. What is better out there than where you were? Getting to the place for what is yet to come. You do need to make the choice to move forward and to get to that better place. And that is part of the transition process of healing from loss and or trauma. Finding your why. Dean Graziosi gave a 7-step process to finding your why that will help you transition through healing your trauma and or your loss. You ask yourself, why do you want to move forward and or release the pain from your loss and or your trauma? For example, why do I want to move forward and heal from my loss and or my trauma? Your answer may be because I feel miserable. I hate the way I feel, the emotions, the feelings, it's too painful for me. And then you ask yourself, question 2, why do you feel pain, all the pain and the misery? Why do you feel horrible? And your answer may be because you are tied through your emotions and you love the person that you lost, and without them you feel miserable, and or the trauma, the pain and the results of that trauma that occurred makes you feel miserable. And so you ask yourself, why is that? And it's because you loved and lost. And with your trauma, it could be that you trusted somebody or the universe or the world, or were taken advantage of. So depending on what your situation is, you then ask again, why? Why did you love them? Why do you feel like something was taken from you? And you answer that. Because I thought I was going to have this relationship or this loved one in my life for a long period of time. And then you go, well, why is that? And because I made connections with them, and I want to love and I want to have wonderful people in my life. And you ask yourself, well, why is that? And you keep going till you get to the bottom answer. You will eventually get to your why. For me, in the trauma that I went through, I was hit head on in an auto accident, and ultimately my why boils down to my children. I wanted to be around and live and enjoy life with them as they grew up. So find your why, because it will be important for you to be able to reflect back on as you go through the process, so that if you get stuck, you can think of what that why is, and that will help propel you forward through releasing and letting go of that trauma, the feelings, the emotions, the loss, and getting to be your better self and to your best life. Step 3 of the transition is giving of yourself to others. You will find relief and you will feel better as you give to others. So whether you choose to volunteer or help others, whether it's just a friend, a family member, a complete stranger, it could be something just very small, or it could be something much larger where maybe you go and you volunteer at a homeless shelter or a soup kitchen or a hospital. Yeah. Depending on the pandemic, if they're still allowing you to do all that, obviously, whatever you can do in your area that is safe, or even anonymously, somebody in your neighborhood, you could do something nice for them. Giving of yourself, it doesn't have to be, oh, you go buy something. It could be your time, just visiting, talking to, helping, assisting somebody in some way will help you in your transition from healing from trauma, or your transition. Giving to others of your time will help you transition through your healing from your trauma and or loss. And sometimes you will find in other people's losses, or just as you help them, you will find purpose, and you will feel better about yourself and your life, and it will help you transition through as you do good for others. As you are giving to others, you will find opportunities to heal, to learn, and to move forward, which will help in the transition into your new world, which is part 3. The 4th step in the transition, which is part 2 of healing from loss and trauma and moving to the new world, which is part 3 of healing trauma. Live and be present in the moments in each day of your life. You are here on this earth. Find joy each day and live a purposeful life. Living purposefully or purposeful and or finding your purpose will be part of part 3 of healing your trauma and living your new life, your new world. So I look forward to sharing that with you. And give me a big thumbs up if you found any of this information useful, and give me a comment below and let me know which part of the transition you are in. I look forward to reading all of your comments. I do read them all, and I will comment on all of them. I will reply to all of them. And hit subscribe if you haven't did that yet, and ding that little bell, and you will get notifications when my next videos come out. I look forward to sharing with you on your journey of healing and recovering, moving forward, transitioning through your loss and your trauma. You got this.